Alright, so here we are talking again about translating sentences into equations, number one, and then solving integer problems. So we're going to talk about, I guess we'll review this stuff. We're going to try and separate and conquer, find that is, and that separates our sentence into two separate expressions, and we're going to translate those expressions into math, and then use the equal sign. And here's ideas about integers. Integers, even integers, consecutive integers. We're going to use these ideas to set up some problems. Alright, so here's our first one. Sum of two consecutive odd integers is 148. Alright, first thing we do is we're going to try and find that is, that dividing line. There's my is becomes equals. On the right side, 148. Okay, well that's pretty easy to translate. 148, got that one. Alright, let's go over here. The sum of two consecutive odd integers is, well, you know what? The subject of that sentence is sum. So I could break this sentence down into sum is 148. So, alright, I'm going to start with sum. Sum means adding. We're adding two things. Sum is 148. Okay, sum of what? Two consecutive odd integers. Okay, well, two consecutive odd integers would be, and I'm going to make some space over here. What are those integers? Well, let's see. Consecutive odd integers would be n and n plus 2. If I had an example of 1 and 3, those would be my two consecutive odd integers. This would be my n, and then 2 steps away would be my next consecutive odd integer, so it would be n plus 2. So over here I got n plus 2. Sum of two consecutive odd integers is 148. Sounds great. All right, so let's see. We were told, I guess, to translate this. Let's try and solve it as well. All right. Well, if I've got this green and blue equation, I've got to combine like terms on the left side. N plus n gives me 2n plus 2 equals 148. All right. Next step. Do the middle school dance. Excuse me. Numbers and variables go to opposite sides, just like a middle school dance. All the guys go to one side, girls go to the other side. I'm going to move the numbers to the right side. I'm going to subtract 2, keep things in columns as much as possible. That keeps things kind of straight. 2n stays as 2n. Plus 2 minus 2 becomes 0. Equals is equals. 148 minus 2 is 146. Alright, I don't want to know what 2n is. I want to know what 1n is. So I divide by that coefficient. 2 divided by 2 is 1. We don't write that 1 as a coefficient, but it becomes 1. N equals 73, and I'm done. If we're looking to find the integers, well, I've solved my equation, but I haven't found those two integers. I found that n equals 73, so n is 73. N plus 2 would be 75. And I'm done. I can double check. Sum of two consecutive odd integers is 148. Sum of these two would be 148. Yep, sure enough, and I'm done. Double checked. Alright, let's take a look at these guys down here. Sum of three consecutive odd integers is 45. Find that is that divides the two phrases, the two expressions, sorry, not equations, because the whole sentence becomes an equation. This side becomes an expression, this side becomes an expression. Is 45? Well, 45 easy enough. Mathematically, it's 45. Let's take a look at sum of 3. This phrase over here, this part of a sentence and part of an equation becomes an expression. Sum of 3 consecutive odd integers. Let's translate that. Well, the subject is sum. So we could say sum is 45. Sum. Alright, sum. And I'm going to put 2 spots here because we're going to have 3 consecutive odd integers. But the sum is 45. Alright, sum of what? 3 consecutive odd integers. Alright, 3 consecutive odd integers would be n. And because they're consecutive odd integers, they step by 2. N plus 2. It'd be like 1 and 3 and maybe 5. The next one would be n plus 4, because it's 4 steps away from this guy. 1 and 3 and 5. If 5 were my next consecutive odd integer, that would be 4 steps away from 1. That's why it's n plus 4. Now, if we've got an equation, we can now translate. We've translated, sorry, now we can solve. Combine like terms on the left. N plus n plus n, 1n plus 1n plus 1n gives me 3n. Doesn't really matter where I put it, but I'm going to keep it under this n so I can kind of keep it as close as I can to the equals sign. Combine like terms over here. 2 plus 4 plus 6 equals, on the right side, 45 didn't change. Now I'm going to play the middle school dance. Numbers to one side, variables to the other. I got numbers over here and variables already over here, so I'm going to move my plus 6 over to the other side. Subtract 6, subtract 6. I've got 3n equals 45 minus 6, 39. I don't want to know what 3n is. I got to divide by 3. To give me 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. N equals 39 divided by 3, 13. And there's my n equals 13, my first consecutive odd integer. N equals n plus 2 equals, because I've got to find those 3 consecutive odd integers. First one, n, 13. N plus 2 is 13 plus 2, 15. N plus 4, 2 more, 17. There's my 3 consecutive odd integers. If you stopped right here, I'd probably say, frowny face. But if you gave me all 3 of these, that would be a complete answer, even though up here it didn't say really what we're supposed to do, but I'm assuming that we have to translate and then solve.